Okay everybody, so here I am at the top 12. I've been showing you guys exclusives with the Bills. Beautiful C10 65. Love it. Bill, how's it going?
Very well, thank you.
Okay, so we're gonna get to the truck. So you guys built this. Where are you from?
We're from Hayward, California. It's in the Bay Area, Northern California.
And you're South City Rod and Custard?
Yeah.
Wonderful. Love the truck, mate. So what have we got here?
So it's a 65 C10. This is probably one of the higher end builds you'll ever see on a truck.
I'd say.
We've got just extensive modifications to this truck. It rides on a Roadster Shop chassis, so the whole chassis is custom. And we basically, the owner wanted to build a stock looking truck,
okay.
But every panel on this thing has been modified. We've taken and we've cut the drip rail off from around the roof, and then we handmade all the entire perimeter of the roof. We basically reshaped the whole front fender opening to fit the tire better. We lowered the trim down about 3/4 of an inch. All the trim on the truck is all chrome plated.
Wow.
We modified the grill and pushed it in a little bit, cut the back off of it. That's all chrome plated as well. The bumpers are cut, tucked, shaved. We made the entire engine compartment from scratch, all handmade. The whole bed.
Never seen one so clean.
A lot of people comment on how
There's
clean it is.
There's nothing else in there except that block.
That's exactly, it's the jewel, it's the little pearl in the oyster.
It really is. And you know what I love, and I saw it, and it's this right here. That coloring there, is that on purpose?
No, in fact, so you chrome it.
It looks beautiful.
Thank you. Yeah, so actually it's really just chrome, and once it warms up, it turns that kind
That's
of
what I thought. It does that, but I mean, it goes with the color that you've got.
I appreciate it.
And what is the paint here?
So the paint is Glazerite. It's Emerald Isle green. It's really kind of a custom mix. Our painter is Campani Color, Joe Campani. And we actually just won top 3 best paint at SEMA.
Nice.
With this truck. He did a really, really nice job.
It's
just
base coat.
Over the top. So.
Yeah. And what block is that there?
So it's a small block Chevy. It's a 383 stroker motor. It's built by Schmedding. Basically a crate motor. But we dressed it up with some PML valve covers. They're finned aluminum cast valve covers by PML. We've got a Billet Specialties True Track front drive on it, which we use quite a bit.
And is it safe to say that everything is under the fenders?
Oh yeah, so it has air conditioning, power steering, and what we did was we just tucked everything away so that, it takes a lot of work to make it look this simple.
Yeah, it looks simple, but it definitely was a lot of work.
Yeah.
It's amazing. I mean, it looks absolutely brilliant. I love that it's hidden under the fenders. Just for myself, I want to know, is there an issue, or would you ever have a problem with having some of these engine components like tucked and covered?
No, I mean, the True Track system is basically, it's a bolt-on deal. It has the alternator, the AC pump, the power steering pump, all integrated. We use these quite a bit, so we know all the little tricks.
I've seen it so often, and I never had a chance to actually ask.
Yeah.
That's an issue, but it's
little
not.
Little things, like we made this pretty utilitarian. So
oh, what's that?
You can get to the radiator cap. You can get to the overflow tank.
Wow.
So we build utility into our cars. A lot of people just build stuff to show, and they don't really work that well.
Yeah.
It's fashion over function.
And that just sits so flush.
Yeah.
And it comes out so easily.
Yeah. So we try to build functionality. We try to build cars that are show quality, but also actually work.
Yeah.
So our customer, we've driven this truck thousands of miles already. And
that is amazing. So this is his driver.
It's a drive. Well, I mean, it's not a daily driver.
No,
but he definitely intends.
He
to
drives
drive
it. This absolutely brilliant. I mean, look at this, 65, beautiful. Bill, let's get inside the interiors.
Yeah, absolutely.
Love how he's kept that vintage look.
So that was really the intent of this truck, was to look almost original at first glance.
Wow, look at that bench.
So we picked a color that is reminiscent of a stock. It's not stock, but it's made to look as though it could be stock.
Yeah.
And then we picked some materials. He wanted to have the original look bench seat. So I scoured SMS Auto Fabrics to find this fabric that kind of has a stock OEM feel to it.
Wow.
But DJ Designs did the whole interior in this thing. But there's a lot of little details. So like the AC, this whole plenum down here, we CAD rendered it, designed it on the computer, and then we had it 3D printed.
CAD rendered it, so that's what you do before you 3D print something?
Yeah, so CAD rendering is, you know, on the computer you actually draw it in CAD is what they call it, so it's a computer program, and then we send that program to a 3D printer. They printed it, it's actually made in 2 pieces, we put it together, had our painter paint it, and all the vents here, these are all CAD designed as well, so they're designed on the computer, and what we did was we took the look of this bezel around the gauge cluster and we flipped it upside down, so it has the little ribs in it that match the gauge bezel there. It's such a small detail, but then when you look at it from afar, it really flows. And that's, we just wanted everything to almost look like it could have come from the factory. Wow. But there's just so much thought and design work in it. Look at here, I mean, I just love those, what would you call them? The panels, the buttons that go up and down for the vintage air? Oh yeah, so that panel there actually is a piece from Vintage Air. So it has a Vintage Air AC system in it, and Vintage Air makes that panel. It's an OEM fit, so it actually just fits right in the stock location, but it's all electric, you know, instead of being mechanical like the originals. Wow. It's done so brilliantly, honestly. Yeah, love DJ Designs on the interior. He just did a DJ Designs. Oh man. You know, the 3D printing is becoming very popular. I've seen some of the big machines. Yeah. And I've said this before as well. It saves so much time, and especially for you guys when you're working on it. But not only that, how have you found it to be when compared to man-made? Well, it's cost-benefit analysis, really. Yeah. You know, some of the 3D printed stuff, it's just a no-brainer. You know, for us to have handmade that would have just been double the cost, I'm sure. What about the finished product? You know, honestly, I don't think you'd see a difference. You know, we would make it to the same quality whether we handmade it or had it 3D printed. So I don't know that you'd be able to tell the difference all in all, but you know, we're obviously working to keep these cars are unreasonably expensive. I mean, there's just so much time into them to get them to this level, but we still look at everything and do a cost benefit. You know, okay, if we 3D print this, it's going to be X amount of dollars. If we hand make it, it's probably going to be double that. Exactly. So it's just, and when you're already spending so much on a car or a truck, then every bit helps. Exactly. Yep. I do love the chrome here. Like, it's just a detail. You know, we do chrome a lot of pieces because the aluminum, you know, you can polish the aluminum and it will look great for a while, but it dulls out over time. It's a maintenance factor. The chrome, if you find a chrome shop who knows how to chrome aluminum well, which is a different process, it just has a brilliance to it that you can't duplicate with even with polished aluminum. Wow. Love the window in the back. This is custom? Yeah, so these trucks have a really ugly drip rail all the way around the whole perimeter stock. And so we knew we wanted to cut it off, but what we did, instead of just cutting it off, a lot of people will use like a round rod and just kind of weld it on there. Okay. But it doesn't look exactly right to me, so we actually handmade the entire perimeter of the roof from scratch and shaped it so that it just kind of looked like it might come from the factory that way. Wow, it's been done so well. Just a lot of little subtle touches on this thing that most people, you know, wouldn't notice unless they knew what a stock one looks like. Well, that's why you're here in the top 12. Congrats on that as well. Thanks. So, and it's the finer detail, pinstriping right here. You've got such a subtle red, yet when put together with the chrome and the white and this beautiful emerald, it just completes it, doesn't it? The bed interior here has a lot of custom work in it as well. We basically handmade all of these panels inside. These beds are really utilitarian stock, and they're kind of clunky and clumsy looking. Yes. So we fabricated. Well, they were supposed to be like that. Oh, it was a working truck. It's a work truck, exactly. And that's exactly right.
And you've handmade all these panels.
Yeah. Yep.
Wow.
A lot of bead rolling.
Now, what have you used for the bed here? Something like this. It's a very high-end truck, show car material, award-winning material. What is the bed?
So the bed, these actually are they're oak panels, which is, and what we liked about them was that the graining in them is all a little bit different, and the coloring even is a little bit different.
It is, isn't it?
Yeah, and we actually kind of liked that look.
It almost looks like you've used different woods.
Yeah, exactly.
You've got a nice pattern here.
Yep.
And then you've got strokes, and it gets a bit darker and red.
Yeah, and so what we do is we just take and we fit them, obviously, cut them and fit them, and then sand them, and then we use an automotive clear over it. And we clear them multiple times and cut and rub it, sand it, polish it, until it's completely flat and glassy, you know, like a paint job would be. But it takes quite a bit because these panels are actually really rough when they start out. So you have to keep building up layer and layer of clear, sand it until it's actually smooth like a, you know.
So people who are working on their beds at home, and I know many of you are, and they want to get this nice look, how many layers would be enough and how many would be too much to get this nice look finish?
No such thing as too much. I mean, you really, you know, there's probably, you could clear these about 10 times until it really builds up enough to cut it completely smooth.
Okay. Any tips to avoid problems and issues of having to redo it?
Well,
don't give away your secrets, Bill, but just give us something.
No, it's not. You really need to dry them out. So,
okay.
When we originally started painting these, if they're wet, if they have any moisture in them, they'll fisheye, and you have to keep sanding it, fill it in. We'll even go and dab clear in where it has the little fish eyes to try to fill it in, and it just takes a lot of time and patience to get it to the point where it comes out smoothly like this.
Time and patience, ladies and gentlemen. So even if it takes you 5 years, 10 years, take the time, because look at the finished product you would get.
So the tailgate also has quite a bit of work done to it. It's picture framed, what we call it. So normally they're, again, really ugly. They have these big latches on them with chains. So we smooth all that out. We put this extra piece in here. We moved this in just a little bit and repeated this angle here on the sides.
Chevy sign. That's what you've done. Picture framed it.
Exactly. We made this panel here from scratch, and then we actually machined and cut down the license plate smaller so that it would fit better in the pocket there. These lenses here and the bezels are actually CAD designed and machined out of stainless steel, and they're Frenched in. So I made this whole panel here to
sit flush.
Sit flush, exactly. Normally they sit on top of the paint there.
Wow. And what's the lights inside you've got?
The lights are actually based on stock lenses. So again, we didn't want to make it look custom per se. We just wanted it to
look like it was a 65 Chevy truck. So wow, brilliant.
And then we did a lot of work here to make this inner handle open the tailgate. So we use these bear claw latches on the sides here, and we filled in, and then we have rods going into the handle here. It's all custom made.
Everything's on the inside.
And it's all on the inside.
Everything's on the inside.
Really nicely. Yeah.
It's
not that he's ever going to use this to really haul anything.
No, I don't think he would.
In fact, I really hope he doesn't after all this work. The joke of this truck though is, so the license plate, it says club hauler.
Okay,
when
what is that?
When he came into the shop, he said he wanted a driver quality truck so that he could throw his golf clubs in the back and go golfing. And so the scope of the project clearly went way above and beyond what we initially intended. And so as a joke, we made his license plate say club hauler, because he's never going to throw any of his clubs in the back.
Well, you never know, because if somebody appreciates their cars and they like golf, and I like golf as well, you look after your clubs.
True.
You shine those clubs, those woods, those irons, and then when you place them in, whether it's in the trunk of a car or the back of a truck, you will place it
very
in
carefully.
So maybe that gentleman would be doing that.
We did joke around that we were going to make a big mount brackets so that it could actually hold the clubs in this truck.
That would be amazing, because that would keep the clubs safe too.
Exactly.
Well, you know what? That's something you can come back to.
That's right. Yep.
Wow, this is awesome. Absolutely brilliant.
Yeah, so just all the little details. We really reshaped the whole rear bumper. We added to the front edge of it and brought it so that it fits flush against that back panel there.
The way you've done this, I love it because it complements the grille at the front.
Yep.
The grille at the front is also going, it's almost coming inwards.
Mm-hmm.
So it's like it's staring down at you.
Yeah, yeah.
And then this one is kind of like the back end of it. It's
Right.
going, it's like almost the behind of it's going downwards.
Exactly, yep, yep.
I love it that when you see these trucks up close in such fine detail, you notice so much. And obviously you've brought down the fender here as well to cover the wheel a bit.
Yeah, we reshaped the fender openings to fit the tires better. You know, a lot of people, I mean, in my opinion, the wheel tire combo and the stance of a car, if you don't have that right, then the whole thing doesn't look right.
It doesn't.
You know, it's maybe the most important part.
I mean, it makes such a difference. The wheels and the tires. It's like when people have got the patinas, you know, they've got these awesome killer wheels on it.
Yep.
And it just completes the look.
Exactly, yep.
So it's definitely a big part. And what rims have you used there?
So these are, again, in keeping with the traditional theme and kind of like how this truck would have looked if somebody customized it back in the late 60s. So these are ET
That
wheels.
does not even make sense. Like, how could they have forgotten half of this product back in the 60s? But it's still awesome.
These are ET Team 3 wheels now. Scott at Team 3, which is in San Leandro, right city up from my shop. He owns the rights to ET wheels, which were an old brand like American back in the 60s that offered, you know, 5-spoke aluminum wheels, what they would have called mag wheels, but they're aluminum instead of magnesium.
So they would have been there in 65.
Absolutely.
Oh, well, there you go.
Yeah, and they're, you know, little details like the way that the spoke is peaked just very slightly there. That's, you know, one of those really important details that sets them apart from, you know, some of the other Americans that have the smoother spoke on them.
And that would speak of the era as well, because in 65 they wouldn't have had the chrome flashy rims that we see today.
The mag, you know, in aluminum, a lot of them had this cast kind of look. They were cast, and you probably could have polished them back then, but, you know, we actually, one thing, when he brought the truck into us, he wanted it to be green from the get-go, and that's one thing that never changed. He also wanted to put polished wheels on it, and it's one of those things where I didn't want the polished wheels from the very get-go, and so I just worked on them slowly over the whole course of the project, and by the very end, he's like, all right, Bill, you get your way. We're gonna put the cast wheels on it, and he absolutely loves them. So
you got to listen to the builder.
Sometimes.
You know, this is your day job, mate. So, you know,
That's right.
you got to take advice from the builder. But I do love the emerald green. I mean, this.
Yeah, he wanted it to be green, and I didn't argue with him a bit about that. I think it's a beautiful color on this truck. It really accentuates the shape, you know, the body line.
100%.
Most people think it's black when they first walk up to it, but it's just got that really deep green.
It's a deep green.
And when the sun hits it, it just has that glow to it.
100%.
Yeah.
100%. Absolutely brilliant. Bill, if someone wants to get in contact with you, how do they do that?
If you just Google South City Rod and Custom, we'll come up, southcityrodandcustom.com. Our phone number's on the interweb. We have got a web page, obviously, southcityrodandcustom.com.
And how long did a project like this take?
This probably took about 2 years. With as much modifications as are done to this, it just takes time. If we built a more stock bodied truck, we could probably do it in about a year. But most projects take between a year and 2 years, typically.
Wonderful. Well, I appreciate that, sir. Thank you so much.
Yeah, you bet.
Thank you.